G'day, and welcome back to Griffith's Garden, and indeed another episode of how to grow juicy tomatoes in Australia. Well, at least my tips and tricks, and hopefully they work for you too. Well, it's definitely summer in Canberra. It's a bit of a strange summer, to be honest. It's mid-afternoon here at the moment. For those that have been watching along, we were supposed to get 5 or 10 mils of rain the other day. Well, we got a grand total of 6. Now, some would say that's 5 to 10, but that particular day we had about 2.5. The other 3 came this morning. So, rain's a little bit hard to come by at the moment. But we are forecast to grab another, was 10 to 20, now it's 5 to 10. Who knows, we probably won't get anything tomorrow. But let's have a look at the tomato patch. And we're in a little bit of a state of limbo at the moment, to be honest, because you only stake your tomatoes once. And those with a keen eye, and I know those that have been watching along, are probably quite interested in what's going on with these guys right here. That is the bush tomatoes. And what I got in my hand right here is what we're going to do today. So the state of limbo really is a maintenance period for stick tomatoes, and that is just pruning. And you can see here that they are approaching the top of the sticks. And these guys, well, they resemble a bush for sure. And they need what's called trellising. They don't have to be fair. There's many ways you can grow tomatoes, right? And bush tomatoes are essentially a bush. And we'll go and have a look at the KY1 Bush Tomato out there shortly, because that's not trellised like this. And commercially, halfway up the Queensland coast in places like Bowen, bush tomatoes are just grown on the ground, not supported in any way, and they'll come through with massive harvesters and just scoop them all up, and that's where you get most of your pastes and so on from in a commercial sense, in your tin cans. Things like truss tomatoes that you get from the big supermarkets and comes from the truss of stick tomatoes. Don't always use sticks. In fact, they rarely use sticks in the commercial sense. They'll grow them up along a string, or not wire for sure, but a string. And so they can grow those things probably no less than 20 feet. That's where you go to the supermarket, you'll get them in a box, sadly. Sometimes in packaging, sometimes not, but that's the classic truss tomato. Here we have, I think the supermarkets are calling it these days the gourmet tomato, where it's a standalone or a single tomato. They come from the bush tomato configuration in a lot of cases, and not so much this lot right here, but that lot back there being the Blue Mountain tomatoes. We'll have a look at those shortly. Resemble that type of tomato in a big way. So that's enough of an introduction. I hope you've sort of followed along at the moment. But what I'm going to do today is run some wires, and you'll see that these are already standing up because I've put 2 wires in here already. If the view comes down that far, maybe back here you can see 2 rows. So I want to put a 3rd row of wires, and they run between this star picket and the other star picket, and they hold them together up high, and so they don't just spill out everywhere like that KY1 bush tomato is around the corner. So I think what I'll do, and we may even do some pruning today as well, depending on how time goes. So what I'll do is we'll just drop around and have a look at the bush tomato, the KY1, and then we'll come back and put some wires. And this is a poor excuse for proper wire on trellis tomatoes, to be honest. It should be a thicker wire than this, but you know, in a backyard, just go into your big box store and grab this for a few bucks, and you know, it does the job. It's as simple as that. What does the job in the backyard is what works. If it works for you, it works for me, then we're all happy. Because we're not straining it over, you know, 50 metres of length of rows. What have we got? 5 metres or something like that at best. All right, so let's go and have a look at what happens to a bush tomato if you don't do this type of thing. Okay, now this is the KY1 Bush Tomato. Going gangbusters. So let's step back a little bit and have a look what it looks like if you just let it roam free, really. Remember, this is one seedling that went in here. Right, now this is a bed of about 1 by 1.2 metres. And you can see that this thing has pretty much consumed the entire bed. And you can also see there's a ton of fruit in here. Look at this. There's fruit everywhere, if you can make that out. And you can also make out there's one there with some colour on. Now, I mentioned a couple of videos ago or thereabouts that we already picked some, and that was 2 right out of the middle. But you know, these are the ones that are really going to be the ones that grow from since we put it in. Now, ignore this sprayer. We've got the hose right next to it, so that's kind of where it lives. Now, what you've noticed here is I've got a couple of strings on the 4 corner posts. So I've put those in to lift the sides up off the ground. These plants will continue to grow, and they'll just get bigger and bigger, and well, not going to be able to get past here. So ignore the state of the weeds. That's not what we're here to talk about. The strings I've put in there to keep these off the ground on both sides, and they don't really overhang on these 2 sides, but this one here they do as well. So stopping fruit rotting or disappearing, or the snails get into them and all that sort of thing. So I wouldn't call it a trellis at all, but at least it's getting them off the ground. So if you don't do anything with the bush tomato, that's pretty much what it looks like. It'll take at least a square metre of space. All right, now I've just grabbed you out of the fridge. Yes, I've grabbed you out of the fridge. It's only about 30 degrees here today, but when the sun gets on this thing, not you, but this thing that I'm coming to you from, just overheats. So we'll have to do this in a few stages. But it should be a little bit cool for a while now, so hopefully you enjoy that. So what I want to do is just show you along the side here of these bush tomatoes before we go any further. Let's have a look over here. These are the Roma tomatoes. You can see plenty of fruit in there as well. We'll move along here. There's going to be, look at that, that's nice. A few flies and etc. You'll expect that, but if you dig in here, we're going to have passata and paste and sauce and you name it coming out of our you know what. Now we go over one and you can see a different type of tomato in there. That's the Blue Mountain. Now look, if I can just hop over this row and look at that bottom on it. You grow these in a bush, and notice this the other day. That's a good sized tomato, right? Perfect. You grow these in a bush and they're bum. Oh, that one there. Okay, that one's a bit funny. You dig in here and okay, well maybe we'll learn something. Where I'm going with this is you grow them in the stick variety or configuration, and they're almost all, if I can bring you underneath here instead of twisting it, if you can see, when they grow on sticks, almost all of them have that funny formation on the bottom end. In the bush configuration, they don't. And it's a totally random pick of the seedlings that we put in here, so it's quite bizarre. I'll take you up the front now though and have a look at the, these are the San Marzano. Yes, in sticks. So we'll have a quick look at those before we move on to trellising. All right, so now we're down in amongst it. But look at these things. San Marzanos, absolutely gold. You want to Google San Marzano if you want, go ahead. It's a Italian paste slash passata tomato, much like the Roma. The Roma is probably a more traditional one, but San Marzano is bred a little bit differently. So we have tried them for the last 2 or 3 years, and you know, they're kind of horses for courses in what they're good for. Some have more skin versus flesh versus seeds and that. So we're still using both varieties, and depending on how they come out for the year, we'll send some off to our kitchen, not anywhere else, and use them for paste or passata or sauce, depending on what the boss decides they are best used for. Using a mulli, that's what we use to extract all the goodness from these tomatoes. Now let's move on to some actual work instead of standing around gibbering, which, you know, I guess I'm guilty of a little bit. We'll put some wires up along these things. So I'll set you up on the stand and probably talk through a little bit of it to begin with, but probably put you on a time lapse to go through and finish the rest off. So let's do that. All right, so to do this, we're just going to take our little wire and run it probably from about here, this hole, up here, and we're going to run one down each side of the tomatoes. Try and do this one-handed without making a bird's nest out of the wire, and I'm shaking you all over the place. So just work our way back along. Apologies for all the movement here, but what we've got to do is just to get a wire back to here, and then we can lay it down underneath, and you can see how I'm already pulling it up just by having that wire there. Pull them in and then just tie it off against probably that one there, maybe even the top one. No, this one. Why? Because you don't want to go above them where possible, otherwise you're kind of defeating the purpose. You can push them in afterwards, the tomatoes that is, but they don't look like they're going to get too much taller, so worst case scenario, I can undo it on this end and lift it a little bit higher. So I'm going to cut this wire off and run one down the other side and tighten them up so that they're standing up, and that's the trellising process. Now I'll do the same thing on this one as well, but I'll set you up and just you can just watch as that one gets done. So we'll just grab this wire, and that's plenty of length, so trusty old pliers. If you've never seen a pair of these pliers before, no idea where you find them. Grandpa's pliers. Probably at least 80 years old, those. You know what, they'll last me on my lifetime as well. Alright, there we go. We can see that that's pulling up. So let's put it through this guy here. Right, welcome back from the fridge. How it goes in summer, I guess. Now we're pulling this wire, so all I want to do is put it through here. And I think I probably explained already. If not, I'll cut it out. But in the home garden, all you really need to do is give this wire a good pull. So grab yourself a good set of pliers and that'll do. All we've got to do is go around the post a couple of times. Use up the excess wire. Always make sure you have more wire than you actually need in your rows. That's actually why I'm doing another one right now, because some of them are a little bit short. You don't always get your row the same length every year. So wind that around a bit, tuck it away so you don't stab yourself. And as these grow, they will go through that, past that wire, and you know, I can pull it down a little bit as we go, because you can see down the other end, perhaps not from here, but you would have seen that this end is higher than the other end. So as mentioned, I'll go and run the rest of these wires, and you can sit back and relax and enjoy me working. Now that we have our two wires up on each side of the plants, all I really want to do is bring them together in the middle, and depending on how long your row is, you might want to do this 2, 3, 4, 50 times. Just grab another piece of the string from the chickens' feed, and I'm doing that because I've got this stake, if you want to call it a stake, in between, and it has teeth on it. Now this one here's a little bit bent up, so I'll have to fix that one. But what I want to do is just bring these together a bit, left over right, probably like that is plenty. Right over left. What is that? It's a reef knot. It'll stay together and never come undone unless you want it to come undone by bringing it together. So I just need to bend this up. I don't have pliers with me at the moment, but that'll hook on here, and I can adjust that up to here if I want, and you can tell it's too high because all of these just dropped out of that wire. So it's an adjustable height so that I can, as the tomatoes grow, I can bring this up if I want to. And here you can see the wire behind, maybe down here. So with that, I'll just grab the pliers and bend that up. Ah! It did break. Well, all is not lost really. It can stay there. It can stay there, and I can bring it up to here as they grow. So, you know, you can't bend metal too many times before it breaks. So all we really need to do is make sure these plants are tucked in, and as they grow, they will stay up as opposed to just spreading out like the KY1. So that's how we trellis our tomatoes, like this, where I've hooked that one up. And as that grows, I can pull it up even higher. You know, there will come a point where it'll be too tight to pull up, and of course then you'll need another wire, but I'm not anticipating any more wires on these couple of rows. These ones are so much taller because that's a different variety. So, you know, to be honest, that's probably a good height for a bush tomato, up to here. For somebody that's nearly 6 foot, you probably want them a good 4 foot tall, and you'll get a lot of tomatoes out of there, that's for sure. So that's probably it for the trellising. Let me know if you have any questions, comment down below. I'm more than happy to answer how that all works, but hopefully you get the idea from what we've done here and what you can see back here. Stands them up, makes them easy to pick, makes them if you want to put some spray in there, for example, organic, for me, organic sprays, it's easier to spray. It's easier to get down your rows to pick them and look after them. You can probably do a better job with the weeds than me, but there's a story in the weeds, and I'm sure you know it. Most of you at least would know it. And then now it's just a matter of waiting until these things ripen up and making sure that your pest and disease pressure is well under control. Now there's only one real thing that we can control beyond pest and disease, and that is water. Consistent, frequent watering. Don't waterlog them, don't let them dry out too much, and you'll avoid nasty things like blossom end rot. So, there we have it, trellis tomatoes. Again, let me know if you have any comments, want any questions answered. Put them in the comments down below, and hopefully we'll have tomatoes out of these, well, definitely within a month. So they're well and truly formed. Still hanging on that piece of metal if you're wondering what I'm doing. We have some really good tomatoes forming, and so we should enjoy the fruits of our labour probably before the end of February. So I guess that's about it from Griffith's Garden for today, but I just wanted to revisit my last video, no, the one before. We've pushed past 100 subscribers in at good speed, where maybe by the time this comes out it might be pushing 140, but that first 100 it just blew my mind. I've set a target of the next target of 500, and that's going to equally blow me away. So the support that you guys provide is unreal. I know that there's stats that come out and all the rest of it, but there's about 30% of you that aren't subscribed. So if there's anything that you want to comment on that may help you do that, then feel free to put some comments down below. If I can help you in any way in your own garden, let me know. I'm more than happy to address those or try to do something about those comments. But for today, a bit of a catch up on the tomato patch. Like I said, a bit of a mid-point. Again, really appreciate your support. So keep it up, and that helps me and encourages me to show you what happens in Griffith's Garden. So again, that's it from here today. I hope you've had a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.